G'day guys, welcome back to True Eagle, back here in the UK. The Eagles have gone down by 6 points to a spirited Essendon side that is playing some decent football at the moment and currently sit with just 2 losses, I think. 5 wins, 2 losses and a draw against Collingwood, and we fall short by 6 points. So this is a weird game for me to analyse, I'm not going to lie. There's a number of different factors, extenuating factors, right? So for whatever reason, I woke up my last day in America and I chucked this on at quarter time. It was about 6:40 a.m. in America. And, I watched about a quarter and at halftime I just went back to bed and I found it very hard to care. I won't bore you with just details about me, but last day with my family over in America and I think I just felt a little bit sad and couldn't get invested in this game. So I slept through the second half, got up, saw the result and I thought, yeah, whatever. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to bore you with details about myself, but probably more so to explain that I'm looking at this game through a different lens and perhaps, this review of this game will be a little bit more analytical. For the record though, just in case you were doubting my commitment to the cause, I am recording this straight off the flight. So the flight back from America to England was overnight and I used some, sleeping pills. I do advise you use those sparingly, as I do, to help me sleep on the flight, and I didn't sleep that much. So I am so tired right now, and yet I've spent the morning reviewing the game and doing this video for you now, and I will be doing review content as well on True Footy this week. So long story short, I have seen the game now, and I think overall though, like the way I've perceived this game is different because I wasn't emotionally invested. I didn't see in the real time us, get so close and almost win, and Jamie Cripps be a bit of an idiot and give away that free kick and cost us the chance to win the game. But because I didn't have that emotional investment at the time, I am not as pissed off about it comparatively as others. I still think he played a pretty good game, and I still think we, lost this game in other areas rather than just that. That being said, understandable for him to cop some criticism for it. But overall, good grit and determination, and I'm pleased to say that that's been the tale this whole year, and it did not go away in this game. I think we're all expecting it to drop off, and for the most part it hasn't. Even the games where we played poorly this year, the effort's been there, the intensity's been there, just the skill execution. In the end, maybe Zach Merritt was the difference. Zach Merritt was fantastic, kicked 3 goals. He's good every week, and it's not to say, we would have won the game if it weren't for their best player not playing well. That's obviously a weak argument. Many games are decided that way, but that is what it took. For context, we were about 6 months younger than Essendon in this game. Again, not really an excuse. 98 games experience to their 117, but we are still top heavy and bottom heavy. So when you look at how many players we had under 50 games, there was 8 of them in this week. Bearing in mind the fact Ryan Marrick was laid out with illness and was replaced by Sheed, so that kind of changes the numbers as well. But otherwise, a lot of those guys in this team, before we get into the main stats of the game, but a lot of those guys in this team have probably less than 25, and some of them single digit. So to name them, Long, Jinby I thought had a pretty good game. Harley Reid, Jack Williams, again, one of our best players in this game, I thought. I'd imagine he'd probably be playing like 13 games to experience. Johnson debuted as the sub. Chess has probably played around 20. And the other 2 blokes who have probably played between 25 and 50 were Luke Edwards and Brady Hoff. So long story short, while the result didn't go away, positive is that we're still getting a very good look at some youngsters in this team. So to break down some team stats, where this game was won and lost, apparently Essendon was rated 1.92 in pressure. So that doesn't mean anything to me, and it probably doesn't mean anything to you, but for context, ours was 1.69 and 1.92 is rated as elite. So we took on an Essendon side that did bring their pressure, and we did get close to beating them. The other pleasing thing from this, it's not all positives, but one of the positives is that we broke even in clearances. It was 41 each. And if you remember my preview for this game, Essendon were ranked 2nd in the stat and still are. I think Fremantle's the number 1 clearance differential team. So we broke even with them. And we only had Elliot Yeo for 3 quarters. We saw Tim Kelly really, get off the chain in the second half. I think he had 21 second half disposals. It was pleasing to see him step up when we needed him to. We also won the contested possessions after a battering last week against Gold Coast. We responded, and I think Essendon rated higher than us in contested possessions going into this game. We were top 2 at one point. The Gold Coast game really brought us back to the middle of the pack, and we were able to outwork Essendon in this specific stats. Where we got slaughtered, uncontested ball was pretty heavily in Essendon's favour, and that's been the tale for our whole season. They also out-tackled us 66 to 43. That is really significant. They also got the ball inside 50 way more with 60 to 44. So again, the stat breakdown in this game is familiar with what we've seen, but pleasingly, we did fight hard to come back into this game, and I don't think anyone can question our spirit at this current point in time. So let's talk about some individuals. I'd really like to highlight Jack Williams here. 3 goals, 15 possessions, just kind of a... how do I say this? He doesn't necessarily present as a spectacular talent. He's got some nice tools, solid athleticism without being outstanding. But yeah, this isn't the first time he's impacted a game, and he's played like 15 games, and he was a late draft pick, and he's in his second season, and he ruptured his spleen last year. So for him to be playing as well as he is, and it might not be consistent, but he's playing a hard role as a second ruck as well. He's doing really well. So hats off to you, Jack Williams. If you can continue to bob up every now and then with a game like this, you're absolutely going to earn another contract. And I'm very pleased to see that. So good on you, Jack Williams. In terms of our defenders, I thought Duggan might have been his best game for the year. McGovern, TB kept us in the game at times with this, and Tim Kelly as well. Big shout out with the 29 disposals, 21 of which came in the second half, 9 clearances, 6 inside 50s. And then, of course, Jake Waterman again, whose form is not going away. So we'll get, obviously, to the fallout of this game. We're going to lose Waterman for next week, but his form is not a fluke. We saw it early in last year, like 2023. He kicked 4 against GWS. Then things fell apart. He got ill. But the form has just been consistently good now for a while. He is legitimately a good player. There's no fluke. Is he going to be permanently a Coleman contender? I have no idea, but he's a very good player. A very good player. I thought Jinby, again, takes strides. He's still not winning a lot of the ball, but looking a little bit more assured. I think he had 6 intercepts possessions in this game as well, which ranks pretty highly, and he's not a defender. He played on the wing. Petruccelli, I thought, still gives us moments. Harley Reid, so interestingly here, like, people are talking his performance down because, like I predicted, and, I'm sure I wasn't the only one, you bring up the expectations here, he's not going to meet that. He's not going to play that Fremantle and Richmond game week in, week out. But what I will say is, despite only having the 14 touches, which is fine, he had 5 tackles. So he's laying tackles, impacting the game without necessarily producing highlights in this game. So I thought I'd nominate that. And Brady Hoff as well. In the preview, I thought Hoff, despite being a lot more accomplished on smaller forwards, played a role on Stringer, who's a bit of a hybrid forward, kept him to 1 goal and 9 possessions. So Brady Hoff, again, doing a fantastic job, and another player who's played less than 50 games. Elephant in the room, Domsheed and Liam Ryan struggled in this game big time, I thought. But in particular, Liam Ryan, I think Domsheed's still, not having a big impact. Again, I feel torn here. It's frustrating. You do feel inclined to criticise the older guys, but remembering how much football these guys missed is important. And I'm willing to keep them in the side. At the moment, the situation is we're probably going to have to keep them in the side because the injury fallout from this game is not great. But either way, let's call it what it is. They didn't have great games. And Domsheed obviously lucky to be in the side. Now he's probably going to keep his spot in the side because of Elliot Yeo's potential injury. And again, just one final point on Jamie Cripps. Yes, frustrating mistake. Should have done better. That's not good enough from a senior player at a point where the game was up for grabs, and he will absolutely hear about it, I'm sure. But overall, he did play pretty well. And to be specific about what was good about his performance, 8 score involvements led any Eagle, I think, and perhaps any player on the field with score involvements, 20 touches, and I think was rated the number 1 pressure player on the field, which was good going. So frustrating. But again, you look across the team stats and we were probably not lucky to be as close as we were. I think we fought back and earned that. That being said, you look at the profile of this game, the stats, it could have been one more sided than it was. That being said, if there's games where we fight hard, but we're missing our shots and we're not taking our opportunities, and the score line blows out and we cop criticism for that, then I'm willing to give us credit for games where, the inside 50s were a bit more one-sided to the other side, but we keep it close because of our grit and determination. I'm willing to give us the credit for that. But yes, the fallout from this game is arguably what has me most flat. So when I said I don't really care that we lost, I don't. I don't think the 4 points is super important for where we're at the moment. It would have been nice to win, but either way, what I'm personally concerned with is where we're tracking long term. And had we won that game, it would have spoken to our grit and determination. I'm already giving us a little bit of credit for that. And ultimately, regardless, we would have still been beaten heavily in a lot of key stats. So for me, that's not where flatness comes from. The flatness probably comes from the injuries. So as I record this, we know that Elliot Yeo's probably done some sort of groin injury. It's unclear to what extent. It seems like he was in good spirits after the game. I have a knack of uploading these videos and then you guys find out before the videos come out like what exactly has happened. We also see Noah Long's got a potential knee injury, and the wording of Simba's press conference doesn't seem good. I won't labour on that because, again, the news will probably come out by the time you've watched this video. But, it could be MCL, it could be worse. Touch wood that Noah Long's all right. And the Waterman concussion/hamstring situation is interesting as well. So he's entered concussion protocols for delayed onset symptoms from a concussion. Fair enough. He's also seen to have a bit of hamstring awareness. So if there's any positive from this, it's that the injuries happen at the same time, so he can recover from both simultaneously. Obviously not a great result though. And I am worried next week and potentially longer term about us going into a game without Elliot Yeo and Jake Waterman, probably number 1 and 2 best performed players this year. So we're going to be a little bit exposed there. That's where my flatness comes from. I think we're all worried that our season might derail because we're still building trust with this team. And to be fair, I don't think they've let us down too much this year. There's been some performances that haven't been good, but none of it has been related to effort. But we don't want the wheels to come off. And I am a little bit worried about a team without Waterman up forward and Elliot Yeo, considering the lack of form around those players in those positions. Yes, Jack Williams played well. Is he going to back that up next week when he doesn't have Jake Waterman in the team? Thought Jack Darling, did some good things, but again, I'm not really expecting him to kick a winning score in this team. So that leaves us exposed. And of course, we know what Elliot Yeo's done. I think he's the 3rd best clearance player in the competition this season. So I guess that remains to be seen. And I am bearing in mind, I am so sleep deprived and I think still experiencing the effects of sleeping pills. I don't know. I think I'm nutrient depleted and I haven't really eaten that well. I'm definitely deodorant depleted. So long story short, I'm feeling negative right now. Give me a few days and, maybe we see this as an opportunity to build our list because that's ultimately what we're doing here, right? We're hopefully getting an opportunity for some guys to step up in the midfield and, give us some signs of life. Overall, though, out of the young guys that I mentioned, I said there was 8 guys under 50 games experience, 6 of them under 25, and some of those were in our best this week. They still need support, though, so we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. I will cover the Collingwood game in an entirely own video. We'll cover how the WAFL went really quickly because I did follow that at the airport. Didn't watch it, but for a brief synopsis, we lost by 74 points to East Perth. East Perth are second on the ladder. We really haven't got this WAFL team going yet. We've had 1 win. I'm willing to be patient in the same way that I was willing to be patient in the first 4 weeks of the AFL season. That this West Coast team in the WAFL, who has had disruption as well, they had a bye really early in the season. I'm hoping that clicks. But overall, we're not seeing a lot of positivity out of it. Only notable mentions were Harley Sparks was the best on-ground player. If you don't know who that is, it's because he's not on our list. He's a top-up player. That being said, could be a shout for the mid-season draft, which hopefully we don't need because of Noah Long, but it is entirely possible. I will point out Harry Edwards was named as one of our best players as well, which I was kind of hopeful would happen because he goes into the AFL team, gets 9 intercept possessions, plays all right, takes that confidence back into the WAFL, and I think, that is good for his development. And Tyrell Diwa had a pretty good almost game, 15 possessions, 3 or 4 shots at goal. But other than that, there wasn't a lot to get excited about. So again, we will cover changes and stuff in its own entirely different video. But let me know what you think, guys. I hope this summary was okay. I am so tired. Jet lag kicks my ass coming back this way. But let me know what you thought of the game. There's an interesting mix of positivity and negative. I think there's positivity about the way we played from what I've seen from Eagles fans. There's a whole heap of frustration. A lot of that's getting directed on some senior players, and maybe that's fair. But let me know, as always, what you thought, guys. I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.